What's going on, guys? Today I will be starting the migration to SvelteKit. I mean, I only have this route that you can see right here, where I have some cookies like the user info, user ID, some fake ID, the scheme of the theme, and the theme color. And then I can change like the dark mode and light mode, and then the language. You can see this key, hola, and then hi. Okay, so that's basically all the things that I've done on SvelteKit. You can see the routes. I don't have any route other than the layout and the page. So I need to migrate every route. I think I can see that with npx remix routes, or how, yeah. Look at all the routes that I need to migrate. I don't know how many of them are, but I think it's about 50 or more. So let's get started. Well, before getting started, I was updating the OG image, the Open Graph image for the launch, which previously was what was it? I think I have it here. The quickest way to start a SaaS with Remix, Next, and Svelte. But I've changed the title to be now Build, Launch, Fail, Repeat with Next, Remix, or Svelte. So I'm not sure which is better. But for now, I need to make this thumbnail like in square mode. So what I'm going to do, well, I usually do this on all my SaaS apps, like screenshot mode to true. I do this to remove all the noise. Like you can see here, if I remove this and this, I have a screenshot image that I can paste on the editor of the graphics that I'm using. In this case, I'm using Canva. And you can see that I did the same thing for, well, I need this to be more tall or taller. Yeah, I need, because if I just set the background, it's gonna have this line. But I was going to say that for every app that I build, I enable this screenshot mode to true, so that I can grab clean landing pages. Like compare this to this. This has the CTA buttons, and the other one has the icon, and the screenshot mode has the logo. So yeah, this is not necessary, but I like doing this. And I also create routes where I can copy and paste my logos that I'm using. In this case, actually, I need these 8 logos so that I can put them here like this. Well, but this is a different background color. Well, yeah, I can do this off video, but you can see that I'm using my own routes to generate promotional images. So anyway, this will be a long video, so I may stop the video from time to time because I already tested the waters, and it will be a long migration, because the migration from Remix to Next wasn't really that difficult because it's basically React code, right? With the .tsx files. But Svelte has its own syntax. So, where do I start? I guess I should start with the landing page, like migrating the page blocks, right? That's like the first module. And then I can migrate things like for authentication purposes, like the updating of the session. But yeah, maybe the contact page is the first that I should test. I'm gonna start the Remix server so that I can have the Remix one on port 3001 and the SvelteKit one on 3002. So let's reorder these tabs. Yeah, let's start with the landing page, and you can see that it's gonna be super painful migration. So yeah, first, I don't like that this is being logged on every refresh. So let me see where that's being logged. Console. I guess that's on the layout. No. Where is that? On the session server, maybe? No. Yeah, I guess it's this one right here. Login the locals. I'm not sure. Let's see. Yeah, it was that. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to copy and paste is my remix module that I built from scratch called page blocks. So it's inside this folder modules, and then page blocks. And let's take a look at these page blocks. For example, I have a main component called page blocks that I use. Let me show you on Remix. On, for example, the contact page, on the component, I call this component page blocks, and I pass the blocks. And these blocks are in this syntax. Like this is an array, and the array can contain objects that can be of a page block. And if I go to page block DTO, you can see that I can have a heading, banner, header, footer. So any TS file will be or should be compatible with Svelte, but any TSX file should be migrated to the Svelte syntax. And I guess it makes sense that I start with the page blocks so I can test that on a simple page. I'm gonna create that actually. I'm gonna test blocks. Yeah. And then here I'm gonna have a page like this. And then I think I need this script with language TypeScript and have these page blocks that I'm going to test later. But here I'm gonna have the blocks, and this will be of type page block DTO, and have the first one like let me see, default header, I guess. Well, the header, it's more complicated because it has these session things like enter that checks the user cookie. So maybe something simpler like the core features. So I can have here a features block, and then of style of list. And what else? I can actually use the default features, which is on the default landing page. Where is it? Features. Oh no, it's not an object. I'm gonna copy and paste this features block. Okay, so, and then we're gonna pass those blocks like as items. And now let me go to that page, test blocks. Of course, we have an internal error because we don't have this component created. So let's start there, and it will be like rabbit hole where I start somewhere, and I will be touching like 1,000 components. Okay, so we are gonna replace all the imports to be inside a script. This script should be, I cannot control C, so I guess that's not the best way to start. I'm gonna copy and paste this and do this again. So I'm gonna create this script tag where I can paste all the imports and comment the component and comment the imports. Oh, I need to rename the TSX file to Svelte, of course. That's why I didn't get the syntax right the first time. Now I can uncomment the imports, and I get this error because this is like in HTML format, so the correct comment is like this, not with double slash. Of course, we are not gonna use the import from React to use fragment. Let me see if there's an equivalent of fragment in Svelte. Special elements, Svelte fragment. allows you to replace content in a name slot without wrapping. Yeah, I guess this is the same thing as React fragment. So I'm gonna replace that later with that. Now, I need to copy and paste the HTML code and put it here. Well, no. I think the first thing that I need to do is identify these properties, like copy these things and specify it like this: export let items and export let, I guess, class name, which starts with overflow hidden. And now I can do this svelte fragment, which is the equivalent of this one. And let me see if Copilot helps me here. Let's see. Okay, so it has the iteration and it has this div with class name relative, group relative. Yeah, I think this works. But this says must be a child component, so I guess I need to grab this inside a div. Right? Now, I think I cannot use svelte fragment without a slot name. No, that's not it. Let me see the page that I was looking at. Slot equals. Yeah, I don't understand this. Invalid slotted content. Shadow tree with a slot. Yeah, I don't understand why, so I'm just gonna replace fragment with nothing. Okay, so now we should be able to create the following components. But this layout block utils is also a TSX file. Yeah, I need to do one by one. So I guess I should start with the more common ones, like this grid and this margin and padding and size and layout ones. So I need to replace all of this to svelte syntax. And yeah, do one by one. So script lang and put all the exports and functions and JavaScript codes. Well, I guess why is this why was this a TSX? I guess it returns. Yeah, this can be actually a TS file. Yeah. So there shouldn't be a problem. I'm not sure why I'm getting this unexpected token. Type of. I cannot use type of. Okay, so it's not actually an error. And I think I can do the same thing for all of this. So these are not necessary to be svelte files unless I use HTML code. And this as well, just a TS file, and the layout blocks. Okay, so now let me go back to page blocks and see if I can import this layout block utils. I still get this error, but I'm not sure if this is because I renamed the file. So I'm gonna reload the window and see if now I can use this. Yeah, it seems like I can use this function inside this TS file that I migrated. So now let's go to the next, which is page block TSX should go to svelte. And look at all of these components that I need to migrate. So let's not complain and let's do them. So we have this script. We need to export the properties, export let item, and then migrate this syntax to SvelteKit. So the way it's done in SvelteKit, I think it's like hashtag if. So I'm gonna replace all of all the ones that has this double ampersand, and replace that with a closing, and go to the beginning and put an if, and then go to the end and remove that closing brackets and put slash if. And I think this is migrated, so we should be able to go to the next one, which is banner block. So TSX means svelte. All of these, it's gonna be inside the script. Comment the React code, export the item, which can be undefined, but I'm not sure if you can use this. Yeah, I think you should be able to. And this syntax also goes like this: if, replace this with a closing tag, and then go to the end and close this like if. Okay, so this works, but item, I don't think you can use this conditional question mark. So it's not finding this banner block DTO. Why is that? So there's no add modules. Why is that? I think the modules are inside lib. So in order to Svelte to identify the modules, instead of just doing like this, lib modules, I can go to the tsconfig and put, if I want my modules to be identified, I need to specify where is that modules folder. So this is now compatible. Now we need to migrate the variant top and the bottom ones. Svelte and Svelte. Let me pause this and come back once the banner blocks are migrated. Well, never mind, because I wanted to show you some things that I do when I'm migrating things. For example, I know that use translation that comes from React is not going to be used anywhere inside Svelte. So I need to find and replace this function. And what is this replacing? I guess this is replacing the import that is going to be using, like in this case, is translation. So I need to go to my page where I use this translation, and this is the import that actually uses the t function. So whenever I'm using this import, I'm gonna replace that with this one. So this is gonna affect 29 files, and in the future it's gonna be even more, because currently I'm just focusing on this one, on this page blocks module, but in the future I need to do that with subscriptions, storage, shared, permissions, core, accounts, and so on. So maybe this should be a step that I do after copy and paste all the modules that I need. But I want like a quick win for today. So I'm just gonna focus on page blocks today. But you can see that I'm gonna replace all of this. And whenever I'm using use translation, this is no longer needed, because this is already imported directly from this file. So I'm just gonna replace with nothing here. And in this case, I can do the same thing. No, I cannot. Well, maybe whenever I'm having set open, yeah, it's affecting the files. I was gonna say like replace that with something like open, starting with true, and then replace this with nothing, and do the same thing for all the other files. And remove the useState function, because of course SvelteKit doesn't have a useState. Well, maybe they do, I'm not sure, but we're not gonna do that with that function. We're gonna use like with this $sign. How are these dots called? Semicolon, and then open, and this is a reactive variable. So let's export the item and then export the onClose function that can be undefined also. Okay, so you can see that it's gonna take a while. So I'm now going to pause for a bit. Okay, so I almost completed the first component, which is banner, body, and top. But I wanted to show you this. Whenever you fix the syntax, you're gonna get a new set of errors if you're migrating. I mean, like in this case, you can see that after I completely migrate the syntax, now I get new errors, checking the, of course, the logic is correct, the other type of syntax is correct. Like in this case, it's not class name like in React. On some components, like for example, if I go to button, this is from Shatcn, these components, Shatcn svelte, Shatcn. I mean Shatcn dash svelte, which is not the official port of Shatcn UI, but pretty similar. But for example, here they have the class name because and they export it as class. So we can do that on all the components. So instead of doing like I was doing it, for example, on variant, where did I have class name? Like in page blocks, I had this class name, but I may need to do this export class name as class. And whenever I'm using page blocks, like here, I can pass the, well, let me import the component and then I can use class. So whenever the class name is used on all the code, like here, we can find and replace with class. Yeah. Yeah, I think I should do it that way. And now you can see I have new set of errors like SVG. I can do the same thing for all the SVGs. But before I do this, oh, I think I need to stop the video because there are workers outside of my house. So yeah, I think I need to pause and do some more migrations and come back. Okay, so some more context. I copy pasted the buttons folder that contains button event, button primary, button tertiary, and also the icons. And these icons are like, I guess 50. And I renamed all the files from TSX to Svelte. But I need to fix, of course, instead of exporting like this, I need to do it the Svelte way, like this, class, and do a script with that language, and then have a class name and export the class name as class and use this variable here. And on SVGs, I think I need to find and replace, like for example, field rule. I need to find and replace with this field that rule, and do the same thing for all of the SVG related attributes. And you can see that there are many. So whenever it's field rule, it's gonna be field dash rule in lowercase, and do the same thing with clip. And there are many, like what else? Stroke line join. It's stroke line join. I'm gonna use equals because that's in case I created someday this property. And what else? Stroke line cap, and yeah. do the same thing. I'm gonna come back when I already migrated all of these components from React to Svelte. The good thing about migrations is that once you start migrating a specific pattern, it comes easier for the next component. Like in this example, I identified this way where on every component, on every icon component, I have this undefinable class name. So I go on every file, which you can see are 46, and remove this and replace with the script that I need, which is exporting the class name, and then just fix the component by changing some attribute names, save the file, and go to the next one. So pausing the video right now. Oh, and I just noticed that it was not stroke line dash cap. It was the correct syntax is line cap together, and do the same thing with join. Because if I have this error on this component, it means that I did it wrong on every component. And do the same thing with stroke width. Now that we are on here, stroke, and this is lowercase. And yeah, I'm gonna go back to my previous find and paste. Well, I lost the paste that I was using, so this was the script that I was using. So find and replace, remove, adapt, and save the file and move on to the next component. Another thing that I just found is that I've been repeating myself replacing this class name equals to class name and replace this with class. And this should be for default elements or custom components. So before going on the thing that I'm migrating right now, I'm gonna find and replace this to class just so I don't repeat myself so many times. So going back to the previous way and continue, and now I don't have to find and replace, I mean to fix this class equals to class name, and this is gonna be easier for the following components. As you can see, I just find and replace and go to the next component. I took a little break and my iPhone camera disconnected, so I'm using the FaceTime camera from my Mac, but that's no big deal. So I just have two components left to migrate, so let me do that quickly. And actually on this one, which is the X icon, I forgot to set it to a Svelte component. And now all the icons that I'm using on my boilerplate are migrated. So it took a while. It took like, I mean, like 15 minutes. And I guess it's easy once you find the correct pattern, so you can find and replace, but it's a lot of tedious work. So anyway, I was migrating this because on the variant of banners, I use this button event and this button event. Oh, okay. So I need to also migrate these components, which are the buttons. These buttons are like button primary, secondary, and tertiary. I mean, you can see that this is a primary button on my remix edition. This is a secondary button, and the tertiary are like on ShatCN. On button, it's the variant that doesn't have a style. Let me show you this one, the ghost one. But why am I using custom buttons? Because, for example, on the button primary, I want to be able to pass on click or an ahref. So that's basically the reason. And the loading button, it just puts a spinner. You can see that if I log in and log out, this is a loading button, and if I click login, it will do that spinner animation, which comes from the class names that I put on app.css. And I don't have that actually. I need to go to Remix and find the global CSS and find for the spinner. And I need to copy paste this base spinner and the loader as well. And the WebKit keyframes, all of this. And also the drag and drop files, class names. So I'm gonna copy all of this and paste it inside the utilities directive on CSS. And this is after, no, this is before the layer base. So for layer utilities, I'm gonna put some custom CSS like that. Okay, so now let me migrate my components. I'm not sure if I should do this on video. Well, let me do the most basic one, which is the primary button, Svelte. And do the same thing, script with TypeScript, and pass this here. And I guess I need to export all of these props. But is there a way that I can, like, instead of having these export variables, is there a way that I can export all of once? Like in React, this is inside this interface called props. So I guess I will leverage ChatGPT or Claude. You can see that I already asked for a full migration, and of course it doesn't work. I mean, maybe in the future with AI, you can migrate automatically from framework to framework. But yeah, it's still not there. So I'm gonna ask to migrate this React component to Svelte. Let's see what the answer is to this. Okay, so let's see if this component actually works, because sometimes it assumes that it should work in a certain way, and sometimes it doesn't even work. So I'm not using this way of importing the components. It's actually this way, leave components UI button. And then let's see, autofocus. Let's specify the type like that, disable like that, autofocus like this. And I guess it works. But this should be 2. And do the same thing for autofocus. And this is giving an error because the 8 element doesn't have, well, it has a boolean. So what is the problem here? Focus, it's a boolean. Avoid using autofocus because, okay, so no autofocus. And let's do the same thing with this component, which is link or ahref Svelte, and ask for this component as well. Now do this one. I'm using Claude because yeah, I'm not sure why I'm using Claude, because I have access to the O1 preview, which thinks quote unquote thinks, but let's see if this works. Otherwise I'm gonna use ChatGPT if this starts giving errors. Okay, so what is this doing? REST props. Let me take a look at link or ahref on React. What is this code? So this is the first if. So it's checking whether onClick is defined, but onClick should be a function. So export let onClick and pass. This can be undefined. like this. And let's take a look at this interface. Okay, so I need to copy and paste exactly the same way as this is defined here, but this cannot have this question mark, and it's not finding these mouse events. So I'm gonna comment and put export led on click mouse event. Yeah, just mouse event, but this can also be undefined. Autofocus equals to autofocus. A tags cannot contain autofocus. So let's see if this works. Going back to the primary button, it's trying to access this component, which it's having its trouble. So let me import it again, but it says cannot find module. I guess I just need to save this file, or let me try and reloading the window. And yeah, I need this class as well. So here, the class name, I forgot to set it as, I guess I should put it below, export class name as class, and I don't export the class name. So I can use like this, class. And onClick is missing. So instead of having this way of doing it, I'm gonna put it like that, onClick, onClick, to maintain the same pattern that I have where checking the onClick is defined or not, and not use any Svelte specifics. So this component is migrated. So let me see if this works. I'm gonna use the page that I was using, which is the test blocks. And this of course gives an error because page blocks has error, but test button still doesn't work because it's importing this component, I guess. So I'm gonna comment that. Okay, so now test button. I'm gonna put here the button primary that I want to test. Hello. Okay, so this is not found, but on what component? On link or, okay, but why did it find it? What is happening right here? Let me go directly to leave components. Okay, so now it works. So the migration is kind of working seamlessly. So I'm gonna continue to the all remaining buttons like secondary, tertiary, loading button, and button event. Okay, so after like a good amount of minutes, like 20 or 30, I was able to migrate my buttons. And I ended up using ChatGPT 4.0 for this. And you can see that on this page, I have my buttons that I've just migrated, test blocks page. And here I have my button primary, secondary, tertiary as links, and then as buttons. So the purpose of this is, you can see that it's updating a hashtag on the URL, and here are the buttons. So I can use these buttons to send these two attribute or send an onClick function. Now, since this is a custom component, I cannot actually use onClick like this. Alert, svelte on click. I don't think this will work. Let me see. This is the button primary. Yeah, because I'm not exposing that, how is it called? Dispatch properties? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this is the best way of doing it. Like instead of having onClick functions, just having the default onClick on everything that I use onClick. But yeah, I'm gonna maintain the same code as in React. So, and on React, I don't actually use the default on click that comes from the element. So I guess it makes sense that I don't do it on Svelte either. So I'm confident that these buttons are migrated, so I can see if my variant top is ready, which I don't think it is, and the bottom one is not either. So let's keep doing that. I'm gonna do the top one first. So now I can use this button, but it's not here. It's inside lib components. But what is happening here? It's not detecting. Let me see how I was importing that on this page. Button event comes from, okay, I need to use the dot svelte. I'm not sure if how to make this to not add dot svelte, because I already did some research and couldn't find. It said that I needed to go here and specify like the path or on tsconfig. I honestly can't remember, like include all of the source that contain this file, but if I save this, you can see that it still doesn't work. So I'm not sure. I guess on every component I will add that svelte file, and it's not a bad thing because it differentiates between the TS files from the svelte components. So let me delete this use state from React and continue migrating here. Button event cannot contain class name, so I'm gonna find and replace class name to class. And let's see what else. The T function cannot be used this way. It needs to add a $sign at the beginning. And we know that fragment is not a thing on Svelte. Well, I guess there is with like this, but fragment. But I need a slot name, and I'm not sure why that doesn't work. And there's no key in button events. So let me see. Svelte iteration doesn't need key. Do I need keys when iterating structures? Let me see. In Svelte, you can optionally use keys. They are useful when you need iterative items. Okay, so let me see. On here, I don't need the key. Okay, to do that, but to do what? Here is the key, which identifies how to configure to update. Okay, so instead of having it here, it seems like I can do it like this. So this is the key, and I don't need the attribute. This is a custom component, so I mean default component. So the onClick is just like this, and instead of set open, it's open to false because this is a reactive variable. And yeah, let me see if this banner variant top works. I'm gonna import it here. It's already imported. I need an item. So let me see on the default landing page. Leave default. I don't have the default landing page. Oh, it's because it's on landing page. Let's see the banner. I'm gonna copy this and paste it here. And instead of setting the style, actually this is just the style, so I don't need this. But anyway, I'm gonna set it anyway. Let's see if this works. Fail to import this icon. Okay, so this shouldn't be like that. It should import the components like this, but this is on the bottom variant. Let me do that on the top variant. Okay, so it still doesn't work. I'm not sure why. It's not finding the variant, the banner variant top. Lib modules, but if I click on the import, it works. So I have a little situation here. What if I put just modules? Yeah, it doesn't work. And what if I delete the import and make it like this? Yeah, it doesn't work. Module not found. But why is that? I mean, I have my variant top right here. I guess. Yeah, let me fix this. I'm not sure why I cannot import, because here you can see that I'm using modules correctly. And on page test blocks, I'm using, well, I just changed it to lib modules, but it was like here, like this. And it's still not finding that that spelled. What if I delete that spelled? Yeah, let me do a little bit of research and come back. Okay, so now it works, but it's disappearing. What I needed to do is find and replace whenever I use the imports like this, because I created another project, an empty project from SvelteKit, and it seems like they don't use stuff like this. They add and then point that to a specific folder. They do it like $sign lib, and everything within lib, like components and modules, should be used like that. So I basically did find and replace these to lib and then slash. But let's see why the error. You can see that it's already loading the block, but it's giving an error. So let's see the requested module. Banner block DTO from the variant top doesn't exist. Variant top. So this doesn't exist, but it does exist. So let me remove that and import it again. Okay, so it still doesn't work. What if I import it like lib modules, like the relative path, the absolute path, I mean. Okay, so still doesn't work. I guess because this is a type, and I've seen that in tsconfig there's yeah, this one, verbatim module syntax. Let me turn this to true, because if you see the tsconfig from the default from SvelteKit, it doesn't even have that. So let me delete that and see if that works. Let me see. Okay, still the error. Maybe I need to add this type directive. Okay, so it seems like on every type that I'm going to use, I need to add the type, so Svelte doesn't complain. And this is working. So I now have my first page block variant, which is the banner variant top. And let's see if I can quickly do the same thing for the bottom. Delete this React code. Replace this with an if, and close the if tag and go to the next error and find and replace all the and. No, just this one, this tree, and close it and go to the beginning and put if. And at the end, close like this. I'm gonna copy paste this closing if directive, and also here. And now I need to override this to each, and then as CTA, and I'm gonna need the key, so this should be under parentheses. It's not a return. Close this and close the each. And what else? Okay, so this is a default button component, so this should be on click. Open should be open through false, and on close should be defined somewhere. I'm gonna copy paste the thing that I had here, which can be undefined equals to undefined to not required, and do the same thing. It's complaining. Why is it complaining? It's not assignable. On close can be undefined. What if I add parentheses like that? Yeah, it's this syntax. Now do copy and paste here because I need that. Replace class name to just class, and replace the T function to $T. And the icons need to be like this. That's built. Actually, all the components need to be this format. And remove use state from type. React. Add this type to the type. Arian hidden. I don't think that exists in SvelteKit. And the key is already found here. And remove. Actually, I'm gonna find and replace aria hidden since it doesn't exist in Svelte. Okay, so let's see on test logs on page, and now do the same thing for the bottom variant and see if it works. Okay, so it works. I can see if it's responsive. I can close this. The top banner is not closable when it's on mobile, but that's okay because it should be like here on RockStack. Oh no, on RockStack I use a banner on the bottom, and on SaaSRock I use a top banner. You can see that it's not closable on mobile. So that's basically the whole purpose of which one do you want to, sorry, there are mosquitoes here, use on your landing page. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna end the video here because you can see that it's a lot of work. I need to go to each page block variation or variant and implement that. I'm gonna make another video when I have at least this landing page. Like instead of full stack SaaSkit for Remix, it will be for SvelteKit, but it should look exactly the same as this one. That's the benefit of using page blocks. Like you can just change some things. Like here, this is the RockStack demo site. Instead of going to the component, you can just abstract this in another file or on the database and replace this with new banner text like that. So anyway, thanks for watching, and let me know what you think about this format, or maybe I should stop recording myself and just finish the SvelteKit edition and prepare for the launch, which is coming this Tuesday, October 1st. I have 5.5 days to complete this. Let's see how it goes.